Hi guys, and welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV. My name is Michelle.
My name is Nina. Welcome back to Carefree Queens, guys. It's been a while. It's been a lot, and you know what? We've literally had to record this again. But you're lucky that we're really excited about Pochettino's interview because we'd happily talk about it again, won't we?
Absolutely.
So the show must go on. But obviously, first of all, guys, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV, all of that jazz, and welcome to a new episode. Michelle, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Well, the massive talking point today is obviously going to be Poch's first official interview. He said many really interesting. He said a lot of interesting things. The way he said it, just the whole thing, the way he sat down to the way he held his hands. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk transfer news as well, because we brought players in rather than saying goodbye to players. So it's going to be on a more futuristic note today, which is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, no, seriously. But obviously we've been banging on about this interview. I'm sure a lot of you have watched it, but we're going to pick out the best parts of it and kind of how we see it, how we kind of as well, like what we inferred from it. But for me, the standout points were obviously accepting that we are the best club in England. Like first and foremost, if you're managing Chelsea, you need to know that. Guess who didn't know that? Graham Potter. So first and foremost, we've got literally miles of a difference between those two gaffers, and it does mean a lot, even though it's just one interview and everyone can say nice words, everyone can present themselves as a good person in the first interview. There is still such a huge difference from what Graham Potter said to us at the start, like especially because we were so heartbroken by the sacking of Tuchel. Like we took a lot of time to let that sink in, process that, and then it was hard to warm up to Graham Potter. And then when they kind of started out better, but then when they went downhill, it was a lot. But the way that Graham Potter kind of presented himself, and this video is not about Graham Potter, but it is about contrast of managers, and that is a huge upgrade, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
How Graham Potter kind of analysed games and never really had like a plan for kind of future games. He knew something was wrong. Well, obviously everyone, even if you don't watch football, you know something was wrong with Chelsea last season. But what it is that he never had a plan moving forward. You know, he'd bring out the same lineups, do the same things, make the same tactical changes. Well, but there never really was a game plan. And with this interview, what Pochettino has done is essentially he's presented us with a plan because he's identified what the biggest problems are, such as playing for the badge and motivation and, you know, mentality and all of that stuff, which is so blatantly obvious. But somehow last season, our manager still couldn't pick that up, you know, like how to fix these things. And Pochettino has identified those problems. He's proposed some solutions as well. And he has told us where we will need to get to. So he realises that there is a big job at Chelsea because, sorry, no disrespect to Brighton. And, you know, Potter did a great job with them, but he never truly knew what job he had with Chelsea when he came. And that's where he felt sure. That's why he failed and why we couldn't get anything out of it. So for me personally, Pochettino coming in, explaining exactly what Chelsea is about, knowing our levels, values, and principles of the club, and telling us how we can kind of resume those and make us happy again, because happy was just such a nice word used in his interview. But literally, like, we know, I know, you know, everyone here knows, everyone in the Chelsea community knows how much we suffered last season, and that is not Chelsea. So today it's all about finding Chelsea again. Obviously it's building a new identity, but that's still remaining kind of, you know, all the accomplishments and preserving kind of our successes over the years and then making more. So for me, it was really important that Pochettino recognizes exactly what we need to get back to our winning ways. So for me, it was great. What stood out to you though?
I felt like his whole presence, even the way he, just the way he carries himself, I feel like it says a lot about a person. If you are, this man is confident and he knows what he's gotten himself into. Sort of like someone who's really excited to take this challenge onto his shoulders because you know he's gonna smash it. So I felt like the thing that stood out to me the most was the way he carried himself, from the way he sat. Even we had like a small video earlier on, or last week, something like that. Just the way he arrived, it's just, he seems very sure to why he's here. And that's, once again, it's a massive contrast to Graham Potter, because I feel like he was very honored to have been considered and asked to take on this role, but he was one of those managers who could have been great, but he was a risk. Rather, it's certain, it's almost written in the stars that he knows he's going to be great. He knows what he has to do. Like you said, he touched upon the things that were the root to the problems last season. And I've said this many times, we've talked about it many times, that we brought in a bunch of promising players. We brought in a lot of young players, and they got almost zero guidance. They got zero management. And it's really, really hard to evolve if you do not have that guidance. And that's why a manager is so crucial. That's why it's so crucial to have a top level manager in a top club. So I feel like just his whole presence. He said that he talked about the players, yeah, and he was excited to see how he could capitalize on their talents as a manager. And I feel like that's the number one thing, that we have a lot of really good players. We need to capitalize on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And I really like your point on kind of what you're saying about Pochettino and the way he presents himself as well, is that like just the way he walked in, sat in his seat, his body language, his facial expressions, his snappy answers, no kind of beating around the bush, no, kind of stuttering or uncertainty. He sat with confidence. And I truly believe that is a number one kind of quality you want in a manager as well. Again, contrasting confidence, it's huge, because even when you lose, it's the way that you take the loss, it's the way that you present kind of with confidence, because you are confident in your plan, in your team. You should be, as a manager, at the end of the day, and first and foremost believe in the project that you are trying to create essentially at this club. So it all starts with confidence, having a plan, knowing exactly what you want, what you need from your players. And you brought it up. He mentioned that everyone loves players with talent and capability and, a good work ethic, but he also wants the players to actually want to be here and, play for the badge, play for the fans. And that is literally what we were missing last season. We fell out with a lot of players. We fell out of love with a lot of players because it just seemed like they didn't want to be there, didn't want to put in the effort. Yet we were the ones that were consistently turning up and hoping for them to care. That's how bad things were last season. I could literally count on one hand how many players looked like they gave a shit last season. And that's really sad.
Go ahead.
Thiago Silva, Reece, Kante when he was playing after his 7-month injury. Chilwell, maybe, when he was not injured.
Nani, I felt like, as well.
Nani, yeah, of course, our new signings, Enzo as well. But again, like those are players we literally brought in and shouldn't really even give a crap. They shouldn't be the ones that are trying to pick up all the pieces when they're literally new, and they should be taking example from those that did care. But unfortunately, they couldn't, so they had to motivate themselves. Anyways, besides the point, the point still stands that, it was all about lack of effort. And for Pochettino to say that, great. And also that training kit, Michelle, take my money, Chelsea FC. It's on the mega store now, I saw. So I think the last pennies of my student finance is going towards that training kit, because I need it in my wardrobe. Absolutely great. Any donations are welcome, guys. No, like seriously, just everything about it. I saw the words aura getting thrown around a lot in social media yesterday following from that interview, and I know exactly what they mean. That is something that couldn't quite see in Graham Potter, and even in Frankie Lampard, even though he's had all of that aura around him as a player when he was, phenomenal and absolutely fantastic legend as a player for Chelsea. But as a manager, he lost that, wasn't it? At times, he just looked so deflated. I saw Frankie kind of lose his spark as well in those last past games where it was just dragging towards the end with the consistent defeats, he looked, hopeless himself. So to see that fresh energy, to see that somebody is believing in us is just truly what we have needed, because we've just suffered without a plan for far too long, suffered without belief. And to have a manager who, at the end of the day, you can argue about what he's won and what he hasn't won. But for me, it's the experience, it's the pedigree, it's the confidence, it's the literally the attitude. And another thing that really stood out to me is that he is really keen on relationships, and he thinks that is how you make something, worthwhile, how you bring success, how you spread that kind of improvement across not just the squad and the players, but the backroom staff, the medical staff, his assistant coaches, staff that work at Chelsea, the groundkeepers, all of that stuff. Like, it's so important to have a strong foundation as a club. Last season, I'm pretty sure half the people didn't even know each other's names. Like, they just would see each other in the corridor and be like, who are you? Like, I ain't seen you before. Because, that's just how it was. Everything was just so disconnected. Everything was just so pulled apart in different directions. You just didn't know what was going on. Of course we were clueless. There was too many people, and obviously that came with the bloated squad, and now we are obviously on doing that as well. But for me, his values are identical to mine, which is why I am very impressed with that interview.
Yeah, and you said in the first recording, you told me about the barbecue. I didn't know until you said, and it's just like the smallest things. It's the smallest things. It's the fact that he's able to pinpoint what the problems has been, and I'm sure he even has a solution to it as well. It's stunning, I feel like, that you can watch a man for 15 minutes and feel so hopeful. Like, it's just because it goes down to the smallest things, the way he talks, the way he emphasizes that we need to bring back this happiness. We need to make the players happy to do their jobs again. Let's have a barbecue. Let's make sure everyone in this club is happy. We joked about that. Take a shot every time this man's is saying happy. Yeah. It's just the whole thing. I feel like we had a lot of good points in the previous recording. Trying to recall some of the things I said. But even the management, even the ownership as well, them listening to the things he is asking for, or the people he's asking for, excuse me. It's just this transfer window has seemed a lot more structured rather than the previous transfer window. So it's just a lot of things that's happening within the club right now that is making everything look way more promising. From the manager we're bringing in, I feel like we're not really taking a risk on this guy. It's a top club. We are a top club. We need a top manager as well. It needs to go hand in hand. The last few managers we've had, I feel like we've taken a chance on them. Where now we just need certainty. We need stability. I feel like he's got that. He's got that. Really excited to see him work with all the youngsters we have. It's just I for some reason I feel like it cannot go wrong. How can this go wrong?
Well, it can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. Surely that's one thing that's certain. I'll tell you that. It can't. Like, whatever happens. And Pochettino is, I think, quite lucky that the expectations aren't humongous for him at the moment. We are taking it bit by bit. We are aware, as Chelsea fans, trust me, that there is a longer term project here. And now we have to be patient with it, because yes, they were right. Graham Potter wasn't the manager for the long term project. And that's why we obviously cut that short. Fair enough. But we can't continue that chopping and changing of managers in years to come if we want to actually rebuild here and actually create something worthwhile with a strong, solid structure for the future success of Chelsea. So for me, that's very important that we stick by Poch. Obviously, having no European competitions means that we get to take it slower. Some of the younger players that we've brought in aren't used to more than, a game a week anyway. So for them, that will be an easier way into the Premier League, because the last thing you want, and we have seen it time and time again, is coming into this crazy shambolic Chelsea side playing, week in, week out, 2 games a week, and being exhausted as a young player who's not even having the right manager to ease them into that. It's obviously hard, because at the end of the day, like, these players are young. Yes, they have ability and talent, like Pochettino is saying, but they also have attitude. And how many times are we banging on about the fact that Madueke and Mudryk had the right attitude and they wanted to start, but they were getting denied playing time and time again because the managers just weren't seeing that. And what Pochettino is here to do is exactly the opposite. He recognizes that these young players have potential and have ability, and he also will capitalize and give them the playing time because they deserve it and want to actually be here. Obviously, that the things go hand in hand. So, it's great to see that he believes in like work ethic and working your socks off and not just being kind and giving, minutes here and there and everybody gets to play today. And no, like, it needs to be a lot more serious than that. We need to get that mentality strengthened again. And I actually think that we've got a much better project here. And I really like your point on the structure of the transfer window, because it seems that as soon as, Newcastle ended, literally the day after, I think there was just one day of nothing, and then Joao Felix was out the door the day after. Then we had the Mason Mount news drop. Then we had the Kovacic news drop. Then we had, Kante, Loftus-Cheek, Mendy, Ziyech, all of that, like, literally in a series, in a very consecutive kind of series. And we knew the clear out was coming. I just didn't know that it would be that rapid. But now that I am seeing it, of course, we had Pochettino's interview yesterday, but we've had all the players walk out, the players that don't need to be here to hear that from Poch. Poch isn't gonna, those aren't Poch players anymore. They're not Chelsea players anymore. So for me, it makes sense that now we've had this interview, and from here on we get to pursue the new signings and actually sit down and see who we need to bring in. And when come pre-season, Pochettino is left with a much clearer kind of idea of who's in, who's out. Of course, there will still be movement and action happening around pre-season as well. That's fine, but as long as it's not too much, because Chelsea's biggest problem recently has been there's just been too much going on. We need to slow things down, take it kind of day by day, and really just capitalize on the time that we've got now with Poch pre-season. And then come 13th of August, hopefully we're in a much better place.
I absolutely agree with you. And even when you touch upon attitudes, I actually really like Poch's attitude, because he did say in his interview that he wanted players, or something along these lines, that they needed players who wanted it to be within the club. He did not want to work with players who did not want to be here. And I just, so straight to the point, so clear, so sure. I feel like that's essentially what football is about. You need to actually want to be where you're working. I feel like you said, the clear out has happened now. I think he's going to be a lot more ruthless as well. When he has that mentality, if you do not want to be here, I'm going to bench you. I need you to show up. I need you to show up for me. I need you to show up for your teammates. I need you to show up for the fans, the club, the whole thing. It's going to be really interesting with the friendly matches in America. It's gonna be a bit hard to wake up in the middle of the night to watch football, but honestly, I cannot wait. Like right now, I just want to get started. I just want to see action. I want to see all the talk turn into action. I want to see if he's actually about to do all the things he says he's about to do. I want to see if Mudryk is able to be as important in our games as he was in the game against France. I want to see all these things merge together. I want them to see happen. So I just want to get started. We brought in 2 new signings as well. Really excited about them as well. Jackson and Kunku. Yeah. Is that okay. I'm just really eager to see all the things that's been happening. I feel like it's when you know someone's rehearsing for a play, you just want to see all of that melt together and see if it's actually going to work when you have to deliver. Let's talk about Nkunku. I tried to make that really smooth. I don't know if it worked. But Nkunku, he was a massive player in Bundesliga. It's giving me flashbacks to a certain someone, Timo Werner, who was a massive player in the Bundesliga as well. He didn't really shine in our club the way we wanted him to shine, at least. So I think that's going to be really fun. So, do you know what I mean? Like, we thought he was going to be much more important.
Although, really funny on that point quickly is, I don't know if you've seen, but there was something about them trying to change the offside rule, and they're obviously going to experiment with that. And someone said, oh, well, then Timo Werner was robbed because this guy had more offside goals and offside moments than like any other player. And he still has a special place in my heart. I'm a Timo
absolutely.
stan.
I'm not trying to say.
Yeah, I get what
Timo
you mean though. He didn't settle as good as he did in Leipzig, so that's fair.
I would argue that Timo was more important to us and more loved by the fans than Romelu Lukaku was. I would pick Timo Werner over Romelu Lukaku any day. My point just is that they've both come from the same league, different league than they're going into. We all know Premier League is the best league in the entire world. You need to step up. So even though you've been really good in another league, he even won an award for top goal scorer. I think it's going to be really exciting to see if he is able to step up, if the whole way Chelsea is operating, the whole way Poch wants to make his tactics, etc., 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 is going to be really interesting to see if he's actually, if this whole thing is going to be more suitable for him than it was for Timo, because everyone wanted Timo to succeed, and everyone knew the minute he went back to Bundesliga, he was a different player. When he played for the national team, he was a different player. So sometimes things are just not that suitable for a certain player and vice versa. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Nkunku, I really hope I'm going to say Christopher. Christopher.
If no, it's you're saying it right. It is Nkunku, yeah.
Nkunku, okay. Well, I really hope it's going to bear fruit. I hope it's going to be successful because we need a striker. He said in his small introduction video that he preferred to be a forward. He could play as a midfielder as well. The minute I heard about him, the minute I heard he was from Bundesliga, I was really, is this going to be Timo Werner 2.0, or is it going to be different with this guy? Yeah.
Well, manifest. No, I agree with you on that point. Exciting player as well. I think if we're going to talk about versatile players, I think he fits that profile well, because Kai Havertz was called a versatile player at Chelsea. So I don't know about that one. Yeah. But as well, you mentioned Nicholas Jackson. I think, another very young, kind of promising player. You can argue that he's had kind of a shorter span of success in terms of like one season of playing well and being a good goal scorer. But, equally, we will try that out. Won't overhype the player. Don't exactly know where he stands in terms of obviously Pochettino's plans. But I think that if anyone could get the best tune out of him, it will be Poch. So again, we are just putting full faith into Pochettino now. You got to back the manager. This is it now. Like, this is the manager that we have to back from here on. There's no more kind of fishing around, looking here and there. Let's settle. Let's actually calm down, look around, see what's going on, and just take things day by day. Because even in the transfer window, I am literally exhausted from like keeping up with everything. There's so much going on. Like, I just feel like we all just need to chill out, make some right decisions. And then, like you said, I'm just so excited to see us play football again. It's going to be hopefully just a breath of fresh air. But yeah, it's nice to be positive though, isn't it, Michelle? Like, I feel like we've spent so long just dwelling on horrible performances and games and moaning about this and that and things just going wrong, that we get to take pride in this. We get to enjoy this. So if anyone out there is telling you guys as well that you're overhyping it or that you're just too gassed about one interview, no, be excited. There is promising words there. We can be excited. We can look to a brighter future. And at the end of the day, one thing is certain, it will be brighter than last season. That is one thing for certain, I know.
Even like I want to go back to you saying that this transfer window was very stressful for you. This transfer window for me was the opposite of last transfer window. Let me put it like this: last transfer window for me was an open circus. No one knew who each other was. I felt like we had more clowns than we had animals, more clowns than we had magicians. Everyone went in and out. We didn't really know anything. This transfer window is more like we have a business building now. We have a security guard in front of the door. The door is not going to be opened. There are security guards within the building who are going to kick people out who do not want to be. It was just way more structured this time.
Some expensive entrance fees though for this club. Damn.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's just I just felt like the reason I am eager to see everything come together and see everything start is because I felt like this was way more structured. It meant like this transfer window had me at peace. Honestly, this transfer window had me at peace. The only thing that annoyed the living out of me was the Mason thing. That took way too long, etc., etc., etc. But then at the same time, we did speak about this. It was nice that they were trying so hard to like. I just felt like this transfer window was way more structured than the previous transfer window. So I'm really excited. I'm excited for everything. I'm excited to see Nani Udweke work with this Pochettino guy. If I'm gonna say one thing, Nani Udweke link up with Poch is gonna create magic. Is that taking?
And on
bomb?
that note,
Is that ticking bomb? Last season, we all knew that was this bomb. It was just ticking. It never went off. This season, it's gonna explode. Oh shoot. Well, should we wrap it up? We should. Okay. We hope that this episode was enjoyable. I think we're being a little harsh on ourselves because we knew what we recorded before we recorded this. But nonetheless, I feel like we said what we wanted to say. As always, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel because there are a lot of other really exciting podcasts, watch-alongs to go through. Leave a comment down below what you're most excited about, who you are most excited about, and why you are most excited about this person. I will make sure that our socials is in the bio as well.